Hello?
Hi, I'd like to speak with Henry Rollins, please.
Right here.
Start talking, man. It's right here.
Oh, it's you. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, my name is Steve Harris. I'm calling for Rocking On Magazine in Tokyo. And I've been provided with a list of questions here by one of their journalists.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just like a translator, so bear with me if there are some inconsistencies here.
Okay.
Okay? It says here that you are probably one of the few people involved in rock and roll music who's completely clean in terms of associations with alcohol and drugs and whatnot. And on the other hand, though, you are very sort of physically fit, with a very keen mental sense, mental power, spiritual power. What keeps you going?
Just a desire to do stuff. You know, I like what I do, so I got a good job.
Have you ever had any kind of work other than that?
Well, I worked a bunch of straight jobs till I was about 20, and then joined a band, and I've been doing music ever since for 11 years.
So it's just that's what fuels your commitment then?
Well, mostly I do music and all this stuff out of rage. You know, it's just a good way to ventilate. It's like poor man's therapy.
How long have you felt the rage?
Since I started getting belted around at about age 4.
Started getting belted around? In what way?
Parents, people at school, stuff like that. Kind of built up. By the time I was 18, I was doomed for rock and roll.
How about the muscles there? How do you work yourself up?
Well, I work out about 6 days a week, and I just like it. I mean, it feels good.
What sort of stuff do you do?
Mostly free weights and some cable, you know, like cable pull downs, stuff like that. But mostly free weight.
Where are you right now?
At a club in Pensacola, Florida.
So what time is it there?
The time now is about 7:36 p.m.
So
the sun is setting.
So you will be performing later or something?
In about 2 hours or so.
Are you on a very long tour now? What exactly is the situation?
Well, been out since about February. Tonight's about the 94th show this year.
Out of a total of about how many?
I don't know how much more there is to go. We're, going to be out till mid-October, so it's a while.
Is that the norm for you to constantly be out on the road?
Yeah. That's what we like to do.
How long has this band been going now?
We've had the same lineup since day one, about 5 years and a few months. Almost 5.5 years.
The guy who put the questions together here says that he was kind of knocked out by the show, although he saw a videotape of an American TV show or something. Well, it was in a studio though. What exactly was it?
Yeah, that was a TV show we did. It was it's a show where it's called the Dennis Miller Show, and they sometimes have bands on there, and we were on there twice this year.
Was that your television debut?
Yeah. Band our size would never usually get on TV, so it was pretty cool for us.
What sort of reaction did you get?
Well, a lot of people dug it. A lot of people coming up to me, here and there, going, "Hey, that was cool," stuff like that.
Well, what sort of blew this guy away was that he couldn't really see the average rock and roller doing the type of thing you do. He's wondering what sort of mental state you're in when you're performing.
I'm hopefully blank. In that I mean I've been warming up and concentrating, eliminating all the the useless parts of the day, the trivial parts of the day, to get to a very highly concentrated core where I can really, lay into the music. And, it's a very Zen thing. It's like, fighting with no sword. I'm sure your friend might understand that.
Uh-huh. But you have a pretty grinding schedule there. It must be tough to achieve that every time you...
It's the only way that I can do it, is to work like that.
Mm-hmm. And it's something I'm assuming you've perfected over the years.
Yeah.
How about, like, once you're finished with the show, what sort of state are you in?
Very hostile. It's very strange. I can't really figure it out. I can't really talk to people.
So, what will you do after a concert?
Get away from people. Tell the road manager to keep people away from me.
Uh-huh.
For at least half an hour.
Is that right?
Yeah, I just don't want to talk to anyone. If someone wants to talk to me, it's a pain in the ass, just because I've played so hard. There's nothing that anyone needs to say. And if they do, it just offends me. And I just don't have the energy to talk to them. And there's just no way they know where I'm at. So someone goes, "Hey, dude," I'm like, "No, don't even start. Just get the fuck out of here."
Uh-huh. It seems like a lot of people... I guess some people sort of read that persona into your stage presence as well. I guess it's something that a lot of people are tapping into.
Well, for me, it's a high concentration gig. It's not entertainment, and it's very physically painful for me to play. I lose about 3 or 4 pounds, and it hurts. Because these shows are the heat is immense at some of these gigs, and it's hard to do.
Mm-hmm. You were talking about like it being the poor man's therapy. So, what do you think if you didn't have this outlet? What would happen?
I'd probably be in jail.
I think so, really?
Yeah, I got a bad temper.
Mm-hmm. You think a lot of guys are in jail just because they have a bad temper?
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Just get themselves in trouble, huh?
Yeah, it's easy to get in trouble,
Uh-huh.
like that.
Uh-huh.
Even if someone's not a bad person, I'm not a bad person. I'm just a little crazy,
Uh-huh.
But I'm smart enough to know that I need some way to ventilate myself. I need like a valve.
When did you find out that you could do that through music?
When I just started singing with friends, bands of mine, in when I was living in Washington, friends would have bands. I'd every once in a while sing with them and stuff.
Mm-hmm. How did that come about? Why did all of a sudden one day you start singing with them? Did you have aspirations to get on the stage, or what exactly happened?
Oh no, that never really occurred to me. I just started doing it. It felt very natural.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've only gotten kind of good in the last few years, but I'm getting good, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always felt good.
And you talked about doing, certain day work until you're about 20 years old when you joined the band. Now that was Black Flag, right?
Yeah.
Which had a very strong following.
Yeah, Black Flag had a big following.
Like, when you joined at 20, was the band already in operation, or was that the start of it?
Yeah. The band was going, but not like it was about 8 months after I joined. They got really cooking after that.
That was about what year?
'81.
Uh-huh.
I joined summer '81. By Halloween, it was getting pretty intense. Late October.
Mm-hmm. And I guess now the band now is like it's made it what this guy refers to as its major debut. I guess a debut on a major label.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that would change your approach to the music at all? Sort of playing.
It hasn't changed our approach to playing at all.
Uh-huh.
No, not a great deal has changed for us, except for the amount of people at shows.
Mm-hmm.
I do more interviews,
right,
which is mostly a drag, but otherwise, we just, we play music for the same reasons we always have, and just, try and go out and do good.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not, like, trying to impress people now or trying to write songs so people will like us,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems that the time is right for you now, with, other so-called alternative bands coming into the limelight. One would expect that maybe you would be a little, sort of orient yourself a little bit differently toward what you're doing.
No, I don't. No, I think the beauty of what we do is that we haven't changed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as if every record sounds the same. It's just that the intent is music, and so we aspire to something that's totally pure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of like like Miles Davis or something. We're into music, and the music's always pure. The only drag, the only thing that gets in the way of music is people. But music is always pure. So we just go after the music.
Mm-hmm. Through the years, have you ever had any particular musician or musician you've looked up to, sort of the role model of sorts?
Oh, there's lots of musicians I really get inspiration from, like James Brown, Iggy Pop. These are guys who I think are just pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. So that you would like to see yourself fall into the same sort of a mold as them. I mean, those are the type of guys who are just unchangeable, no matter what they do.
I just think they're just total originals. They're just really unique. They define themselves.
Mm-hmm. The album, The End of Silence, was, I guess, engineered by Andy Wallace, is it?
Uh-huh.
Who also worked on The Cult and Nirvana. And it's the journalist here notes that the sound is much more dynamic than before, on record, that is.
Yeah, well, we got more chance to work on the music in the studio this time around. Usually we record very quickly because we don't have a single cent. This time we had, 1 or 2 cents. And that allowed us to take a little bit more time, like a couple extra weeks in the studio. And also I think the songs are better.
Mm-hmm. What is the role of this fifth guy here, Theo Van Rock?
Well, he's our sound man. He's part of the band.
When you say sound man, just on the road?
Yeah. He also worked on the record too.
Uh-huh. When you say you had a little bit more money to spend and a little more time to work in the studio, what exactly does that entail? I think some of the people would kind of be in the dark.
Well, I got to do like 1 vocal a day instead of like 6 in one night. Where I have no more voice, but we got no more money. Where it's like, so sing anyway. And we got to try out some guitar overdubs, play it back, and go, no, let's try something else.
Uh-huh.
Or let's try this and see what happens, because we had more time.
Mm-hmm.
Still, even though we had more time, the record was done in like 5 weeks, start to finish, which is like, lightning speed. But, we knew our material when when we went in. So we don't go in and half-assed.
Do you at the record company? Do you have like any one person who's like really behind you and has offered the commitment? What exactly happened that you were able to?
Well, the person who seems most into it is the president of the label.
Uh huh.
So
you have unlimited backing, I guess.
Well, we don't ask for anything outrageous, but everything they say they're going to do, they do.
There's a question here that involves a quote by a Don Fleming. Does that name sound familiar?
Yeah, he's that guy in Ball or something, right?
Yeah, I was hoping you could.
He's a guitar player.
Well, he was saying that Sonic Youth was exploited by SST Records for a long time, and they were sort of faced with, having to either make a major, a debut on a major label or else break up. Was the history of Black Flag sort of filled with similar problems?
Well, no, SST belonged to the guitar player in Black Flag.
Was that right?
So we were on the guitar player's label.
But were there other difficulties outside of relations with SST?
Sure, no one in Black Flag ever gets paid. It's a drag.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they're a dishonest label. Ask anyone who's ever been on SST.
Oh, is that right? Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's a total drag. Yeah, and you can't even get them on the phone. It's not cool.
Huh. Did that contribute to the disbanding of Black Flag then?
No, we just broke up. This all happened years later. It's like, gee, you can't even get paid for all those years you starved while the records flew out the door. Mm-hmm. I don't care. I don't care about money. So it's more his problem than mine.
But I mean, obviously, looking back on that experience now, you're going to be a little more keen when it comes to business matters.
Yeah, well, it's nothing like having a manager to help. I mean, things are much better.
Hold on just a second here. I've got this list of questions in Japanese here. I'm kind of running down it as we go. There are moments in your music where there's like just sort of jazz-like improvisation, which reminds this guy of King Crimson. I don't know if you're familiar with their music.
Oh yeah. I wish you didn't say that word.
What's that?
King Crimson.
Why is that?
He's busted our guitar player. Yeah. Every single time he comes up with a riff. No, Chris. That's from the Red album. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Okay. Well, how about this one? No, Chris. That's from Starless and Bible Black. Yeah, a lot of times we sound like there's a little King Crimson going on. It used to be worse. We used to have just to put a muzzle on Chris, but he's getting better.
So in regards to these instrumental passages, what sort of influence do you have on those? Is that solely the work of Chris, the guitar player, or do you decide?
Oh, no. We all write the music together. But, sometimes, Chris, he has that edge to it. Edge to him, yeah.
How does the composition break down? Like, who contributes what? Like, can you name a couple of songs and how they came about?
I write all the lyrics. Now, a lot of times the songs just come up through jams, which is what we like to do. We just like to just make music, like 1, 2, 3, go. And when that happens, ideas start to flow very freely in a very unrestrained, kind of unconcerned way, and the music isn't trying to be so obvious. It's just there. And we think that's really cool. So with that, we just pull ideas from the jams.
And how does a jam work? Say, do you get together at somebody's house or something and just...
Or practice place, wherever. Sometimes, most of the time we work out stuff on the road at sound check. We were working on some new stuff today.
Mm-hmm. Off the most recent record, what songs are you most proud of?
Oh, I like the whole record.
Mm-hmm. There are no real standouts.
I just think it's a really good record. I like the song "Obscene" a whole lot, and I like "Just Like You" a lot.
Are those the songs that work best on stage?
No, actually, that whole album, we wrote the songs in the winter, and we toured all spring and summer with those songs. So, every one of those songs gets played live all the time.
Mm-hmm. What is this spoken word or spoken world thing?
I do a lot of talking shows where I just go and speak. I do a lot of speaking dates at colleges and stuff all over the world. And I sometimes do release recordings, and it's more like it's like Lenny Bruce or something. I just go up and talk about whatever. And recently, I just released a 6 CD box set of old spoken stuff.
Like, for example, could you enlighten us to a couple of themes you've dealt with?
Well, I was in L.A. when the L.A. riots went down recently, so, I talked recently at a few shows I've done. I've been talking about that and just kind of some of the things behind it and how, how it breaks down for, people like you and me on the street, what it all means.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've just been, and I tell stories. I see a lot of stuff. I live out on the road, so I bump into a lot of things. And I've been doing these kind of shows for about 8 or 9 years.
It says here that I guess Jello Biafra has been doing the same kind of thing?
Well, he does a very political thing. He reads off paper and, talks about Bush. I just kind of talk about, how growing up and more the human element of things.
Mm-hmm. And is that kind of to work people up emotionally or something, or are you just going to sort of calmly and rationally get up on stage?
No, usually it just gets really funny really fast. And I usually go for a couple hours, and within 10 minutes, it's just like everyone's pounding the floor.
Have you always been a talker?
Yeah. Well, I've always been pretty good at telling stories, and I just started doing it live. And I just sold out 1,000 seats in L.A. and a large theater.
Jeez. Well, I guess it's something you wouldn't be able to do, in a musical environment, though, huh? It would have.
Exactly. Yeah, I do these shows when I'm not on tour with the band, or sometimes when we're going to a country to go play, I'll fly out before the band, do some press, and do some talking shows. Mm-hmm. Like, I've already done Australia by myself this year, and we'll be out there again with the band. But like, we're going back to Europe for a third trip in August, and I'm going out there a few days before. I'm going to do a couple of shows in London just by myself.
So, what other countries are you appreciating other than say the UK and Australia?
Well, with the band?
Or individually?
We've done shows in England, France, Belgium, Sweden, Switzerland, Germany, Austria, Italy, Spain, Hungary, Yugoslavia, Denmark, all over. By myself, I've been to most of those places, and I've also been up to Norway by myself.
Do you incorporate your travels abroad in what you speak about?
Oh, sure. I mean, it's what I do.
Uh-huh.
On my way to Budapest, I see a lot of shit happen, and no matter what happens, there's usually a good story in there. Lately, the talking shows I've been doing have been pretty intense. They're funny up to a point, and then See, recently my best friend of 7 years was murdered right next to me in a holdup, and so I, speak very completely on that topic, and there's nothing funny in that. It's just, it's just hairy. And so I'll discuss that, about what that's like to go through, having your best friend murdered and dealing with the cops and dealing with, the media and all that, and dealing with the loss of your best friend. It's been pretty fucked this year for me, the schedule I'm on, dealing with, the death of my friend. The guy shot 4 times, hit my friend twice, and missed me barely.
Good Lord, well, where did that happen?
Right outside my house.
Jeez.
We were just coming home from the store. And, 2 guys with guns came out of the bushes and said, "This is a robbery." And we're like, "Okay, whatever you say." And they ended up killing my friend.
Good Lord, that's horrific.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's like, supernatural or something, it's really, made me, it's just been hard on me.
Well, I would imagine, though, that if and when you come out to Japan, though, this place would be sort of rife with possible stories you could tell. So I suppose it would.
Well, I don't know how many people would understand English.
Well, I mean, just your experience in coming out here, I think, could be spoken about later in English-speaking countries.
Oh, sure, definitely. Yeah, we'll be out there in October.
Oh, is that right? Now, he wants to know what this. I guess you have a symbol of the sun on your back or something here. It's
I have a large tattoo on my back. Yeah. It's the cover of the album.
Okay.
Basically.
What is that supposed to signify?
Well, I like the sun in an abstract way, just because all it does is burn, and that's it. I just think that's just tremendous. Something that's on fire all the time just is something I think is great.
I guess it wouldn't take one long to figure out that that's sort of the way you are, huh?
Well, it's what I aspire to. Just something that never quits,
Oh, maybe we have found that role model we're looking for then, huh? It also says there's a tattoo that says "Search and Destroy." That I guess is an old military term that Iggy Pop used in one of his more well-known songs.
True.
Is that where you got that?
No, I got it from I appreciate Iggy's song, but I got it from the Vietnam term, and and for me it's just kind of my approach to life. As in, I don't want to go burn anybody's shit down or anything, but anything I do, I want to do thoroughly, completely, and so I don't look back. If you're going to play your ass off, If you're going to do something, do it all the way. Don't fuck around. Life's too short. And that's all, nothing bad. It's very positive.
It says here that you sort of embraced music as a way to save yourself from a lot of the trials and tribulations of youth and school and whatnot. Is music a saving grace to young people, you think?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Sure was for me.
And are you getting that sort of a reaction from your fans as well?
Yeah.
Do they write you much?
About 50 letters a day.
I guess they are identifying with you then to a degree, huh?
Something like that, yeah.
Do you read all these letters?
Oh, yeah. I try and answer as many as I can.
What are some of the more recurrent themes in them?
You know what I think, or you write the way I feel, or you know me, or something like that. you speak for me.
Do you think they feel the same sort of rage that you do?
Sure.
And with all these moves towards censorship and whatnot, most particularly in the recent case of Ice-T and Body Count, the whole thing about Cop Killer, it must be kind of outrageous because it just cuts off one more possible vent for rage.
Yeah, well, it's, I think Ice just hit the nail too much on the head and just scared everybody. I mean, hating cops isn't anything new. It's just that, he just came out with that song at a time when, police are on everyone's mind in America.
Excuse me for my ignorance, but do you, in any of your songs on this album, do you deal with any sort of similarly inflammatory subject matter?
No. No, my struggle is internal.
Uh-huh. So you don't think you would ever become target of the censors, huh?
There's no cuss words on our records. Not one.
Uh-huh. When you say your struggle's internal, what do you mean?
Well, I struggle, against, self-doubt, depression, trying to control myself, stuff like that. Not, I don't like cops because by and large they misuse power and they hurt people, and that I'm not into. But when it comes time to come up with a lyric, for me it's a blues thing. If I feel bad, I write it out.
And this guy notes here that there seems to be always a me and a you in your lyrics. Who is the you you're referring to?
Me.
So the other side of yourself.
Yeah, well, a song like Low Self-Opinion in the first song, it's you, but I'm just doing it, writing to a mirror, so.
It's funny you mention that because the next question here says that this guy thought that Low Self-Opinion was about himself.
Well, I wrote it about myself, which just shows you if you come from deep enough inside, you're going to find some common ground.
He wants to know when you're writing lyrics, how much about a message are you thinking about?
Oh, I don't think about messages. I just write the lyrics just to ease the pain. That's all. I don't know what other people are going to think about it, and I don't really care. I'm glad when they like it. That's wonderful, but it's not the criterion for doing any of it.
If you could boil it down to one main criterion, what would it be?
For what?
For writing lyrics.
To ease the pain, to get what's inside outside. Blues.
Yeah. You're not looking to change.
It's a function, it's a way to live.
Uh-huh. So you're not thinking about messages or change or anything.
No, I don't think I can change anyone, and I wouldn't know what to do to, if you said change me, I wouldn't know what to do. Hand you a pair of diapers, I don't know. I'm just trying to keep my own shit together. I'm not, I'm just trying to maintain.
Uh-huh. What sort of non-musical media are you inspired by? Do you read much?
I don't read as much as I'd like to because I don't have time, but I do a lot of writing. I own a book company, and I've been publishing my own books for years.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's a full-on 4-man office. We sell books all over the world.
Well, what's the name of this company?
It's called 2/13/61, which is my birthday, and I've been running that since about 1984. And I've put out about 8 or 9 books of my own, and now we do books of other people's stuff.
Like what sort of other books have you put out, and what sort of subject matter?
Well, we're doing a book with Iggy Pop. which is interviews and photos. And we did a book of short stories with a guy named Don Baima, and he's working on his second book right now. We did a collection of work from a guy, a Vietnam veteran, who writes about being in country, and we're working on his second book right now. And we just published a book by my friend who was murdered, Joe. He was working on this book right up until he died, and he finished it about 2 weeks before he died, so I just edited it and flushed out the typos, and it came out about 2 weeks ago.
What inspired you to start up a publishing company in '84?
Well, I just wanted to write stuff. I got really inspired by reading Henry Miller, and writing always felt good. It was always a good place to go. You could do it by yourself, and it was quiet, and it was cheap, and I never had any money, but I had things on my mind, and writing was it was therapy, felt good.
Did you know anybody else who was writing, or was it something you just adopted on your own?
No, I just started writing. I'm very unorthodox. I just write stuff that, something's on my mind, I write about it.
Mm-hmm. How about the books you've written? Have they been along the lines of your speaking engagements?
They're a bit more compact.
Mm-hmm. Are they the same sort of anecdotes and observations?
Yeah, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. If you could write something of a different nature, what do you think you would write?
I'd love to write a novel. I just don't have that kind of discipline.
Are you interested in movies at all?
Yeah. They're more interested in me than I am in them.
What do you mean by that?
I get a lot of offers to be in movies.
Is that right?
And, oh yeah. Yeah, little ones, very big ones,
Like what sort of roles?
On the lower money movies, the stupider ones, like, you be this insane punk rock guy. No, thank you. I'd rather drink paint. And then on the higher end, there's some, multi-million-dollar adventure-type films, action films who have expressed interest in me participating in their venture.
Uh-huh. Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because it's almost sort of cliche now for the rock and roller to be offered either the punk rock killer or else the schizophrenic killer role.
Yeah. The best movie role I've ever been offered, which is I am definitely am pursuing it. It's a guy who kills a lot of people, but it's very cool.
I see.
And the guy I'm trying to kill in the film is someone I don't like anyway, so it'll be fun to chase his ass around with a gun,
Vicarious thrills.
Yeah, exactly.
You were, I guess it was last year, you were in a Gap ad in the States.
Yeah.
Did that create any sort of backlash among your fans?
Yeah, some people said, "Oh, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm posing out, man. Fuck you." Mm-hmm. I knew it pissed some people off. One of the reasons I did it.
So it was sort of a non-issue to you.
Yeah, I just did. Because it was great to get in Rolling Stone.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any other sort of offers in the offing there? Is it something you're going to be doing extensively in the future, or is it just a one-shot deal?
Oh no, what they do is their ad campaign was a bunch of portraits of people. They did like directors, people in bands, playwrights, whatever, and they just asked me. I was one of many people.
This last question here. Let's see. It says that if there is one, I don't know. We may have flogged a dead horse here, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself here. This is
all right.
The last question. It says, if there is one goal in your music, what would it be?
Just excellence.
Just keep polishing.
And however that manifests itself, however, it's just if it's music that we couldn't have played the year before, You know, if it's music that tests us on all levels and is hard, but we pull it off, that's what's fun about playing music. It's one of the things that's fun about playing music. There's lots of fun things about doing music. And that's the thing that's very important to us as a band, is to make music that we couldn't have done the year before, you know. If we could have done it the year before, well, we should do something else, you know. Should keep it fresh.
Okay. Stated succinctly. All right, well, Henry, I thank you very much for your time, especially on the day of a gig. And
oh, no problem. It's okay.
And I wish you the best of luck when you come out here. Just remember, this will have been in Rocking On magazine, which is the top-selling magazine here. And
right.
Hope we get a chance to see you when you get out here.
Yeah, I'll be out there in Tokyo a couple of days. I think we're doing a couple of days in Kyoto and one other day somewhere else. I forget.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the first week of October.
I see. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, man. See ya.
Okay, then. Bye. What keeps you going?
Just a desire to do stuff. You know, I like what I do, so I got a good job.
Have you ever had any kind of work other than that?
Well, I worked a bunch of straight jobs till I was about 20, and then joined a band, and I've been doing music ever since for 11 years.
So it's just that's what fuels your commitment then?
Well, mostly I do music and all this stuff out of rage. You know, it's just a good way to ventilate. It's like poor man's therapy.
How long have you felt the rage?
Since I started getting belted around at about age 4.
Started getting belted around? In what way?
Parents, people at school, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of built up. By the time I was 18, I was doomed for rock and roll. Is that the norm for you to constantly be out on the road?
Yeah,
that's what we like to do.
Mm-hmm. How long has this band been going now?
We've had the same lineup since day one, about 5 years and a few months.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 5.5 years.
The guy who put the questions together here says that he was kind of knocked out by the the show, although he saw a videotape of an American TV show or something. Well, it was in a studio though. What exactly was it?
Yeah, that was a TV show we did. It was it's a show where it's called the Dennis Miller Show, and they sometimes have bands on there, and we were on there twice this year.
Was that your television debut?
Yeah. Band our size would never usually get on TV, so it was pretty cool for us.
What sort of reaction did you get?
Well, a lot of people dug it. A lot of people coming up to me, here and there, going, "Hey, that was cool," stuff like that.
Well, what sort of blew this guy away was that he couldn't really see in the average rock and roller doing the type of thing you do. He's wondering what sort of mental state you're in when you're performing.
I'm hopefully blank. In that I mean I've been warming up and concentrating, eliminating all the the useless parts of the day, the trivial parts of the day, to get to a very highly concentrated core where I can really lay into the music, and it's a very Zen thing. It's like fighting with no sword. I'm sure your friend might understand that.
But you have a pretty grinding schedule there. It must be tough to achieve that every time you...
It's the only way that I can do it is to work like that.
And it's something I'm assuming you've perfected over the years.
Hello?
Hi, I'd like to speak with Henry Rollins, please.
Right here.
Start talking, man. It's right here.
Oh, it's you. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, my name is Steve Harris. I'm calling for Rocking On Magazine in Tokyo. And I've been provided with a list of questions here by one of their journalists.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just like a translator, so bear with me if there are some inconsistencies here.
Okay.
Okay? It says here that you are probably one of the few people involved in rock and roll music who's completely clean in terms of associations with alcohol and drugs and whatnot. And on the other hand, though, you are very sort of physically fit, with a very keen mental sense, mental power, spiritual power. About the muscles there, how do you work yourself up?
Well, I work out about 6 days a week, and I just like it. I mean, it feels good.
What sort of stuff do you do?
Mostly free weights and some cable, like cable pull downs, stuff like that. But mostly free weight.
Where are you right now?
At a club in Pensacola, Florida.
So what time is it there?
The time now is about 7:36 p.m.
So
the sun is setting.
So you will be performing later or something?
About 2 hours or so.
Are you on a very long tour now? What exactly is the situation?
Well, been out since about February. Tonight's about the 94th show this year.
Out of a total of about how many?
I don't know how much more there is to go. We're, going to be out till mid-October, so it's a while.